Narrative modes in sports games are a very love-hate addition. Some players really enjoyed the journey in FIFA or Longshot in Madden, but when it came to the Formula 1 game, it was for the most part well received. Some have criticised the fact resources have been spent on a story mode rather than improvements elsewhere, but from the 2019 feeder series mini-story to the fully-fledged Breaking Point in F1 2021, it has been a success for Codemasters. So can Breaking Point 2 keep the momentum going? I'm Mark from RacingGames, and here are our thoughts on Breaking Point 2. Well, the first 3 chapters anyway. Breaking Point 2 starts with the 2022 season, but with a new team on the grid, Codemasters Butler Racing. Adding an 11th team to F1 beautifully blends the My Team mode that was introduced in F1 2020, while saving the fictional characters from booting real F1 drivers off the grid. Codemasters takes an obvious influence from Mario Andretti's push to gain a spot on the F1 grid, with the owner and team principal named Andrea O'Connor. Other real-world references shine through, with plenty of the cutscenes taking inspiration from Drive to Survive, while the title sponsor of Codemasters, Butler Global, is helmed by Davidoff Butler, father of protagonist Devon Butler, which is a clear nod to Lawrence Stroll's influence on the sport in the name of keeping his son in a job. When you get past those references and nods to the real world, the story gets teed up really well. Codemasters Racing joined the grid and signed Devon Butler, clearly for the money, and Aiden Jackson, who we left after F1 2021 seemingly on the cusp of a Mercedes drive. Obviously George Russell pipped him to that, and left him taking a seat at Codemasters next to Butler instead. The struggles of a new team and a driver pairing that even the bravest of F1 manager players would balk at leads to inevitable problems. In the first chapter, an engine issue ends the race for Jackson and sees Butler gloating. The second chapter sees an inevitable coming together between the two, and the third sees the ignoring of team orders. Believe it or not, this story is not actually based on Alpine in 2022. These are familiar beats to anyone that has watched Formula 1 for a while, and a sensible place to start. But where Breaking Point really starts to shine is in its characters. The characters we all know are exactly as we would expect. Devon Butler is the smarmy, punchable guy we all know and hate, and Jackson is still a bit naive. It would be odd for this to change given that, canonically, only a few months have passed since the end of the first Breaking Point, so it's good to see the character development remain consistent. The story really shines, however, when we start to meet the new characters. Andrea O'Connor is a guy living his dream, and clearly seeing it to be more complicated than he had hoped. Davidoff Butler, an early favourite, looks every bit the villainous elder statesman. The man who has so much money that he long ago forgot what someone pushing back on his ideas feels like. We'll leave the comparisons to his real-life counterpart up to you on that one. There's also mention of characters that we are yet to meet in the first 3 chapters. Casper Ackerman pops up in conversations and emails, and the new up-and-coming driver Callie Mayer is even name-dropped early on. It all promises a rich story full of characters, with interlinking and clashing desires. Codemasters have already proved they can handle story and characters in Grid Legends Driven to Glory mode last year, but it's great to see the same formula applied to F1 and working well. Oh, and pun fully intended there. The structure of Breaking Point 2 is very similar to the first story. You get an introductory cutscene at the start of a chapter, then a few laps to complete a race objective before hitting another cutscene, and then your social hub and email inbox. However, there is more to it than that. You'll also get inbox actions as Andrea O'Connor, giving you the option to make some choices that can impact 2 things, these being performance and reputation. Raising these levels gives you more options when it comes to answering press questions or further team decision moments, but how much they impact the story remains to be seen. It's unlikely that the story will branch at any point, so these decisions could just be added flavour to add to the off-track gameplay. That said, there are bonus objectives within the race which can be set by your answers. We dismissed some home track advantage talk in Canada in our playthrough, and had a bonus objective to beat both Lance Stroll and Nicholas Latifi as a result. That's a nice touch, but how deep it goes will have to wait until the full game is released. Unfortunately, the biggest issue from F1 2021's Breaking Point returns, which is the difficulty. Codemasters' single-player AI slider of 0 to 110 is one of the best things about the racing experience in their F1 games. You can balance the speed of the opposition to suit your skill level more precisely than in most racing titles. This isn't how you set up Breaking Point though. Instead, you just have normal, challenging, and hard as your difficulty options. Most players will fall between the gaps of these, leaving them gaining seconds a lap on AI cars on the easier difficulties, and with challenges that are either too simple or miles off the pace in an unwinnable situation. There's also the fact that the easiest difficulty is listed as normal and not easy, but I think I'm being really pedantic there. It's an issue that was definitely noticeable in our playthrough. even though AI balancing wasn't complete in the preview build we've been playing on. We were flying up to the back of Lewis Hamilton and passing him with ease in Miami. Yes, okay, this is 2022 Lewis Hamilton, but still. We also managed to make overtakes on the outside of the hairpin in Canada and gained seconds a lap on Alonso in Hungary, and we all know how well Alonso can drive Hungary. It's a shame to see this difficulty level issue remain. Obviously we haven't got the final build, and it may change between now and the full release, but it is annoying when you fall between the gaps in skill levels, especially in racing titles. Adding a scalable difficulty is probably too complicated in Breaking Point, but perhaps adding an extra 2 difficulty levels to fill the gaps between the middle and the hardest and easiest settings will help those struggling to complete a race who don't just want to sail past everyone like they're in a Red Bull rocket ship. Despite our difficulty discrepancies, we've had a great start with Breaking Point 2. The story is set up nicely, the cutscenes look beautiful, and the voice acting and writing seems to have taken a real step up in F1 23. All in all, we can't wait to play through the whole thing. Considering there's no choice as to which team to play with this time around, we're also intrigued to see how much replayability Breaking Point 2 will have upon its full release. Are you looking forward to once again strapping on the race suit of Aiden Jackson? Are you looking forward to seeing Callie Mayer joining the story? Or do you just want to punt Devon Butler off the track once again? Let us know down below, and why not subscribe to the Racing Games channel for all things F1 23 while you're there. For now though, thanks for watching. I've been Mark from Racing Games, and we'll catch you here on the channel for another video soon.